A nurse stayed late to care for a silent patient, unaware he was the hospital's secret founder. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Let's begin. The night was eerily quiet in the nearly empty hospital, with the usual buzz of activity now replaced by the soft hum of the fluorescent lights above. It was the end of Anna's shift, and most of the staff had already gone home. She, however, had stayed behind, working late to finish her paperwork. It had been a long day, and her tired eyes ached from the constant movement. As she gathered her things, she glanced around the dimly lit ICU. There was still one patient left, an elderly man lying completely still in the corner bed, surrounded by machines beeping softly in the background. His name was Mr. Richard Carter. He was known in the hospital as a quiet, reclusive man who had been admitted after a sudden collapse a few weeks ago. Despite his age, there was something about him that made people curious, though no one dared to ask too many questions. Anna, however, was used to such patients. She had been a nurse for several years and had seen all kinds of patients come and go. Yet there was something about Mr. Carter that drew her in. Perhaps it was his silence or the mystery that surrounded him. His face was serene, almost peaceful, and yet his eyes remained closed, betraying no sign of consciousness. She sighed and glanced at the clock. It was already past midnight. Anna was about to leave when she noticed something strange. Mr. Carter's blankets had shifted. He had been perfectly still before, but now he seemed slightly more relaxed. Hesitantly, she approached his bedside. She had always made a point to treat her patients with kindness, even if they couldn't respond. She gently adjusted his blankets and checked his vitals, making sure everything was in order. It was then that she noticed something odd. His hand, which had been resting on the bed motionless, now twitched ever so slightly. A small movement, barely noticeable, but enough to make Anna stop in her tracks. Her heart skipped a beat. Had he moved? She leaned closer, her breath catching in her throat as she watched his hand twitch again. It wasn't much, just the slightest of movements, but it was enough to make her wonder if there was something more going on here than she had realized. Anna had cared for countless patients in the past, many of whom were in comas or unresponsive. But this was different. This felt like a sign, a connection, perhaps. She stood there for a moment, debating whether to call the doctor. It was late, and she didn't want to disturb anyone, but something told her this wasn't something she could ignore. She decided to do what she always did, give her best effort, even when no one was watching. She quietly turned and walked to the nurse's station, checking on Mr. Carter one last time before she made her way out of the ICU. Little did she know, her act of kindness that night would set in motion a series of events that would change her life forever. Anna could hardly believe her eyes. The following morning, as the sun began to creep through the blinds of the hospital room, she returned to check on Mr. Carter before she went home. She had barely slept, still haunted by the faint twitch of his hand she had seen the night before. She walked into his room, her footsteps light and cautious, unsure of what to expect. But what she found made her freeze in place. Mr. Carter's eyes were wide open. He was staring at the ceiling, his breathing steady but shallow, his gaze unblinking. It was the first sign of life she had seen from him in weeks. Her heart raced as she rushed to his side, her hands trembling as she checked his vitals. Everything seemed stable, but his awakening made her pulse quicken. "Mr. Carter?" she whispered, unsure of whether he could hear her. There was no response. She leaned closer, her voice a little louder this time. "Mr. Carter, can you hear me? It's Anna. You're awake." His eyes shifted toward her, and for a brief moment, their gazes locked. She caught her breath, the intensity of the moment overwhelming. Slowly, ever so slowly, his lips parted. Where am I?" His voice was hoarse, strained from disuse, but the words were unmistakable. He was awake. He was alive. Anna couldn't believe it. She quickly pressed the emergency button, alerting the staff that the patient had regained consciousness. Within moments, doctors and nurses rushed into the room, but Anna couldn't tear her eyes away from Mr. Carter. They worked quickly, assessing his condition, running tests, and asking him questions. He answered in brief, fragmented sentences, still trying to grasp the reality of his situation. Anna stood back, watching with awe and relief as the medical team worked. She knew how important it was that he had woken up. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, though they warned Anna that it could take time for his memory and motor skills to return fully. The news spread quickly through the hospital. The quiet, unassuming patient who had been lying in a coma for weeks was now awake, and it wasn't long before people started whispering about the man who had kept such a low profile. Anna remained by his side for most of the day. They spoke, though it was mostly small talk at first, just her asking him how he felt and him responding with short answers. She learned that he had little memory of the accident that had brought him to the hospital, and that the last thing he remembered was a meeting he had attended days before. "I don't remember the crash," he admitted, his voice still weak. "But I feel like I should." Anna nodded, understanding the frustration in his voice. "Don't worry. Your memory will come back," she said softly. It wasn't until later that evening, after his condition had stabilized, that Dr. Harris approached Anna with an important update. "Anna," he said, his voice measured, "we need to talk." She followed him to the hospital's private lounge, her mind racing with questions. "What's going on?" she asked. Dr. Harris sighed, rubbing his forehead. "I don't know how to put this, but the patient you've been caring for, Mr. Carter, he's the founder of this hospital." Anna's eyes widened in shock. "The founder?" she repeated, trying to process the words. "Yes," Dr. Harris confirmed. "Richard Carter. He's the one who built this place from the ground up. But he's always kept a low profile. No one, outside of a few key staff members, knows who he really is. He hasn't been involved in the hospital's day-to-day operations for years, but he's always been here in the background, supporting our mission." Anna was speechless. The man she had been caring for, the man she had talked to every day, was the very person responsible for the hospital she worked in. She couldn't wrap her head around it. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Dr. Harris looked uncomfortable. "It's a long story. The truth is, Mr. Carter didn't want the attention. He wanted the hospital to stand on its own without the focus being on him. But now that he's awake, well, things are going to change." Anna sat back, trying to absorb everything she had just heard. The man she had been so kind to, the one who had been lying unconscious in the bed, was someone she could never have imagined. But as she thought about it more, she realized that none of it changed how she felt. She had treated him the same way she treated all of her patients, with compassion and respect. That, she realized, was what truly mattered. Later that evening, after the hospital had quieted down, Mr. Carter asked to speak with Anna alone. She walked into his room, where he was sitting up, propped up by pillows. His face was still pale, but there was a light in his eyes that hadn't been there before. "Anna," he said softly, "I want to thank you. You stayed with me. You cared for me when no one else would. You didn't know who I was, but that didn't matter. You treated me like a person, not just a patient." Anna smiled, though it was bittersweet. "I did what any nurse would do," she replied. "It's my job." Mr. Carter shook his head, a slight smile forming on his lips. "You're much more than that," he said. "I've seen the way you care for your patients, the way you put them first. You have something special, Anna. Something that most people don't have." Anna felt a warmth spread through her chest. She hadn't expected to hear those words from him, especially not after everything that had happened. She had only done what felt right, but hearing it from him made her feel like her efforts truly mattered. The days that followed Mr. Carter's awakening were filled with uncertainty and cautious optimism. Anna continued her usual routine, checking on him, making sure he was comfortable, and keeping him company during his recovery. As his memory slowly returned, so did his strength. But one thing remained constant: his gratitude toward Anna. Despite his elevated status, his humble demeanor never wavered. One evening, after a particularly long shift, Anna sat with him in his hospital room. "I still can't remember much," Mr. Carter said quietly, his voice low and contemplative. "But I do remember how you treated me, how you stayed with me even when no one else would." Anna smiled, not knowing how to respond. She had just done what felt right. "It's just my job," she replied. Mr. Carter shook his head gently, his eyes filled with sincerity. "You're more than just a nurse. You've done more for me than anyone else ever has. You made me feel human again." The words hit Anna deeply. She had spent her life caring for others, but no one had ever spoken to her like that before. She paused, taking in what he said. His words were a reminder that sometimes The smallest acts of kindness could make the biggest impact. I appreciate you, Mr. Carter continued. You've given me something I didn't know I needed. I want to do something for you in return. Anna, feeling a bit uncomfortable with the attention, brushed it off. You don't need to do anything. I'm just doing my job. But Mr. Carter insisted. I know it's not much, but I want to offer you something. A chance to do something more. Something bigger. Something that will help others, just like you've helped me. Anna felt a lump form in her throat. She had never expected anything in return. She had never asked for anything, but the sincerity in his eyes made her pause. What do you mean? She asked cautiously. I've been keeping an eye on you, Anna, he said. I know what you've been through. The long shifts, the struggles to make ends meet. You've got potential, and I want to help you reach it. His words took Anna by surprise. She had never thought of herself as someone with much potential. She had always been just a nurse, doing what she loved to help others, but nothing extraordinary. But Mr. Carter saw something in her that she hadn't seen in herself. I can offer you a position at my foundation, he said, his voice steady. I know you want to make a difference. I can help you do that. You'll have the resources to help even more people. You'll be able to build something lasting, something that will impact lives in ways you never thought possible. Anna was speechless. She didn't know how to process what he was saying. A position at a foundation? Was this a dream? Could this be real? I'm offering you a chance to lead initiatives, Anna. To help those who need it the most, Mr. Carter added, sensing her hesitation. Anna sat back, trying to take it all in. She had never imagined that something like this would come from the simple act of caring for someone. She had no idea how to respond. Her heart raced as she thought about it. She had always dreamed of doing more, of making a bigger impact, but she never thought it would be possible. I don't know what to say, she finally managed. You don't have to say anything right now, Mr. Carter replied with a gentle smile. I just wanted to offer you the opportunity. Think about it, and let me know. Anna was quiet for a moment, reflecting on everything he had said. She thought about her mother and how she had dedicated her life to helping others. She thought about her own struggles and how far she had come. But more than anything, she thought about the future. Could she really take this opportunity? Could she make a difference on a larger scale? Mr. Carter's offer had shaken her to her core. It was a chance to step out of her comfort zone and into something much bigger. And yet, the thought of leaving behind her role as a nurse, something she loved so deeply, filled her with uncertainty. As Anna left Mr. Carter's room that evening, she couldn't shake the weight of his words. She had always believed in the power of small acts of kindness, and now she was faced with an opportunity to do something even bigger. She didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in a long time, she felt a sense of hope. She felt like she was standing at the edge of something great. The next day, as Anna arrived at the hospital, she found herself distracted. Her mind kept drifting back to the conversation with Mr. Carter. The opportunity he had given her seemed too good to be true. Could she really take it? She wasn't sure. But as she walked through the halls of the hospital, something inside her told her that this was her chance. This was her moment to make a real difference. That evening, Anna sat alone in the hospital cafeteria, reflecting on everything. Her heart was still heavy with indecision. She loved being a nurse, loved the feeling of helping others, of making a tangible difference in their lives. But she knew deep down that she could do more. She could help more people if she took the opportunity Mr. Carter had offered. With a deep breath, Anna made her decision. She walked to Mr. Carter's office, ready to take the next step. It was time to change her life, and maybe, just maybe, change the world for the better. Anna's decision to accept Mr. Carter's offer was not an easy one. After that conversation, she spent the next few days in a whirlwind of doubt and excitement. She had spent years in nursing, dedicating her life to caring for patients, and now she was being asked to take on a new role, one that would completely change her life. The idea of stepping into a leadership position, especially at a foundation that could impact so many lives, filled her with a mixture of exhilaration and fear. She had always been someone who thrived in the background, quietly doing her job. But now, she would be thrust into the spotlight, and that terrified her. Yet, there was something inside her, something that kept pushing her to take the leap. As much as she loved being a nurse, she knew that she could help more people if she accepted Mr. Carter's offer. The foundation's resources could allow her to make a real difference in ways she never could have imagined before. And deep down, she realized that this opportunity wasn't just about changing her career, It was about changing her life. Anna spent the weekend reflecting on her decision. She thought about her mother, who had always encouraged her to follow her heart, no matter how difficult the path might be. She thought about the patients she had cared for over the years, the people who had trusted her to help them through their darkest moments. And she thought about Mr. Carter, the man who had been lying in a hospital bed, seemingly forgotten, but who had seen something in her that no one else had. She walked into the hospital on Monday with a new sense of purpose. It was time to take that first step toward something bigger. When she arrived at Mr. Carter's office, she found him sitting behind his desk, a welcoming smile on his face. "Anna," he said, "I'm glad you came. I know this is a big decision, but I have no doubt that you're the right person for this." His confidence in her was overwhelming, but Anna didn't flinch. She was ready. "I've thought it over," she said, her voice steady, "and I want to accept your offer." Mr. Carter's smile widened. "I knew you would. I've seen the way you care for people, Anna. You have the passion and the heart for this job. Now, you just need the right tools and the right team behind you." The words felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. Anna had always been a caregiver at heart, but now she was being given the opportunity to lead others, to help shape the future of healthcare in a way she had never imagined. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings, planning, and organizing. Anna was introduced to the team at the foundation, a group of professionals who shared her passion for improving healthcare access for underserved communities. They worked tirelessly to come up with initiatives and programs that would bring real change to people's lives. Anna found herself in charge of several of these projects, including one that would provide healthcare for rural communities in desperate need of medical attention. It wasn't easy. There were countless obstacles to overcome, from funding issues to logistical problems. But with each challenge, Anna grew more confident in her abilities. She had found her place in the world, and it was making a difference. As the months passed, Anna's role at the foundation became more and more demanding. She found herself working long hours, traveling to different parts of the country to oversee projects, and meeting with community leaders to discuss their needs. Despite the exhaustion, Anna felt fulfilled in a way she never had before. She was making an impact, and that was all that mattered. One evening, after a particularly long day, Anna sat in her office, staring at the stack of papers on her desk. The foundation's latest initiative had just been approved, and she was exhausted but proud. She rubbed her eyes and reached for the cup of coffee on her desk when her phone buzzed. It was a text from Mr. Carter. "I'm proud of you, Anna. Keep going. You're changing lives." The words warmed her heart. She had come so far since that night in the hospital, when she had first met Mr. Carter. She had been just another nurse, working late and caring for a patient who no one expected to wake up. But now, she was part of something much bigger, something that had the power to change the world. Anna smiled and leaned back in her chair, looking out at the city skyline. She had found her purpose. She had found her calling. And as she reflected on everything that had brought her to this moment, she knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning. The foundation had grown significantly since Anna accepted the role Mr. Carter had offered her. She had found herself deeply immersed in a whirlwind of initiatives, meetings, and new relationships. The healthcare programs she spearheaded were taking shape, reaching communities in need, and Anna felt an overwhelming sense of purpose in her work. It had been several months now, and the exhaustion from long hours had become a constant companion. Yet, as tired as she was, she couldn't deny the sense of fulfillment that came with seeing the difference they were making. Her mornings were often filled with traveling to rural clinics, checking on progress, and ensuring that the projects were operating smoothly. The afternoons were for strategizing, meeting with donors, and addressing any challenges that arose. It was a full, demanding schedule, but Anna couldn't imagine herself doing anything else. Her relationship with Mr. Carter had grown stronger too. They spoke often, whether in person or over the phone, about the direction of the foundation, new partnerships, and how to keep expanding their efforts. It was clear to Anna that Mr. Carter had become not just her mentor, but someone she could rely on for guidance. Their collaboration was seamless, and the respect between them was mutual. Still, as much as she had grown in this role, there were moments when she questioned if she truly belonged. Despite her achievements, Anna sometimes felt out of place. She had never thought of herself as a leader. She had always been a nurse, someone who worked quietly in the background. Now, she was at the forefront, making decisions that would affect thousands of lives. It was overwhelming at times. On one such evening, after a particularly intense meeting with a potential partner, Anna found herself sitting alone in her office. She stared out at the city skyline, her mind racing. Was this really the life she had envisioned for herself? Was she ready to take on even more responsibility? The phone on her desk buzzed, interrupting her thoughts. It was a message from Mr. Carter. "Meet me at the gala tomorrow night. I have something important to discuss." Anna frowned. The gala was an annual event for the foundation, and while it was important, it wasn't unusual for Mr. Carter to ask her to attend. But something about the message made her feel uneasy. She had been busy with the foundation's work, and the idea of attending another event seemed like just another task to add to her already full plate. But she couldn't ignore Mr. Carter's request. She knew that he valued their relationship, and if he asked her to attend, it must be for a reason. The next evening, Anna arrived at the gala, the elegant venue sparkling with lights and filled with guests dressed in their finest attire. She felt out of place in her simple dress, standing among the well-established figures of the business world. But she wasn't there to impress anyone. She was there to do her job. As she scanned the room, she caught sight of Mr. Carter across the room, talking to a group of donors. She made her way over to him, her heels clicking softly on the marble floor. When he saw her approach, he excused himself from the group and walked toward her with a warm smile. "Anna, I'm glad you could make it," he said, his voice full of warmth. "How are things going with the programs?" Anna smiled, but she could sense the tension in his posture. "Everything's going well," she replied. "We've made some significant progress in the last few months, but there are still challenges ahead." Mr. Carter nodded, his expression turning serious. "I'm glad to hear that, but there's something I need to tell you." He paused, looking around the room to ensure no one was listening. "I've been watching you, Anna, and I've seen how much you've grown. The foundation is in good hands with you leading these initiatives." Anna's heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected such praise. "Thank you, Mr. Carter," she replied, her voice steady. "I'm just doing my best." Mr. Carter smiled, but there was something else in his eyes now, a look of determination. "Anna, I want you to know that I'm planning to step back from the foundation. I've made my mark, but it's time for someone younger, someone with fresh ideas, to take the lead." Anna's breath caught in her throat. "What do you mean? You're the founder. You've always been at the helm." Mr. Carter shook his head. "I've been thinking about it for a while, and I believe that now is the right time. I want to pass on the torch to you." Anna felt a rush of emotions. She hadn't expected this. She had come so far, but to take over everything? It was a huge responsibility. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I mean, I don't know if I'm ready for this." Mr. Carter looked at her with a steady gaze. "You are more than ready, Anna. You've proven yourself time and time again. You have the vision, the drive, and most importantly, the heart to lead this foundation." Anna stood there, overwhelmed by his words. She had always wanted to help people, to make a difference, but this was a new level of responsibility. Mr. Carter saw the doubt in her eyes and placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry," he said with a smile. "You'll have all the support you need. You're not alone in this." For the first time in her life, Anna felt the weight of leadership settling on her shoulders. It wasn't just about making decisions anymore. It was about shaping the future of the foundation, ensuring its survival, and most importantly, continuing the work they had started together. As the evening continued, Anna couldn't shake the feeling of the enormity of what lay ahead. But she knew one thing for sure. She wasn't backing down. She had come this far, and now she was ready for the next challenge. The days following Mr. Carter's announcement were a whirlwind for Anna. She had been thrust into the role of leader much faster than she had anticipated, and the weight of responsibility was heavier than she had imagined. It wasn't just the logistics of running the foundation that overwhelmed her. It was the emotional toll of the decision she had to make. She had always been a caregiver, a nurse who worked behind the scenes. Now, she was expected to be the face of the organization, the person who made the tough calls. The pressure was immense, and every decision felt like it carried the future of the foundation on its shoulders. She spent her days meeting with the foundation's board members, discussing future projects, and setting priorities for the upcoming year. There were moments when she felt like she was drowning in paperwork and endless meetings, but there was also a sense of purpose that kept her going. She reminded herself that she wasn't alone. Mr. Carter's steady support was always there, guiding her through the toughest decisions, offering advice, and providing reassurance when she felt unsure. Still, Anna couldn't shake the nagging doubt that she wasn't ready. There were days when she questioned whether she was truly capable of leading such a large organization. It was during one of these moments of self-doubt that she received an unexpected call. It was from one of the hospital's major donors, a woman named Margaret Foster, who had been instrumental in funding several of the foundation's key projects. "Anna," Margaret said, her voice cool but warm with a hint of concern, "I need to talk to you. It's about the future of the foundation." Anna's stomach tightened. "Of course, Margaret. What's on your mind?" "I've been hearing some things around the boardroom, Anna," Margaret continued. "I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's been some concern about your leadership. Some of the older board members feel that you're not experienced enough to take the foundation to the next level. They're wondering if you're the right person to lead us forward." Anna's heart sank. She had known that taking on this role wouldn't be easy, but hearing these words from someone so important to the foundation was a punch to the gut. "I see," Anna replied, her voice shaky but determined. "What do you think?" There was a long pause on the other end of the line before Margaret spoke again. "I think you have potential, Anna. I do. But I also think you need to prove yourself to the board. You need to show them that you have the vision and the confidence to lead. Right now, they're not convinced." The words stung, but they also lit a fire inside Anna. She wasn't about to let anyone doubt her abilities. She had worked too hard to get here, and she wasn't about to let a few people's concerns derail everything she had worked for. "Thank you for being honest with me, Margaret," Anna said, her voice steady now. "I'll prove them wrong. I'll prove to them that I'm the right person for this job." The conversation ended, and Anna sat in silence for a few moments, taking in what Margaret had said. She knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to rise to the challenge. The next few days were a blur of late nights, early mornings, and intense focus. Anna worked tirelessly, pushing herself harder than ever before. She met with the board members, presented new initiatives, and ensured that everything was moving forward according to plan. Slowly but surely, she started to gain the respect and confidence of those around her. Her hard work paid off when, a few weeks later, the board convened for their quarterly meeting. Anna had prepared for this moment, making sure that every aspect of the foundation's work was covered, every project was progressing, and every challenge was being addressed. As she stood before the board, she could feel the weight of their eyes on her. But instead of shrinking under the pressure, she stood tall, her voice confident as she outlined the future of the foundation. She spoke passionately about the new initiatives they were implementing, the impact they were already having, and the vision she had for the future. By the time the meeting ended, the board members were nodding in agreement, some even offering her praise for her leadership. The feeling of accomplishment that washed over her was indescribable. Anna had done it. She had proven herself, not just to the board, but to herself. As she left the meeting, Mr. Carter found her in the hallway, a proud smile on his face. "I knew you had it in you," he said, his voice warm and genuine. Anna smiled back, a sense of relief flooding through her. "Thank you for believing in me, Mr. Carter." He placed a hand on her shoulder, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "You did all the work, Anna. I'm just glad I could help guide you. Now, you're ready to lead." In that moment, Anna realized that she had come full circle. She had started as a nurse, uncertain of her path, and now she was leading an organization that was changing lives. She wasn't just a caretaker anymore. She was a leader, and she was ready for whatever came next. Anna had never felt a sense of satisfaction as profound as the one she experienced that evening after the board meeting. It was a feeling of quiet triumph, of realizing that her hard work and commitment were finally paying off. But as she left the meeting room, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that something was off. The tension she had felt in the air during the meeting, the subtle glances exchanged between some of the board members, left her uneasy. She knew that the road ahead was far from smooth, and the success of her presentation didn't necessarily mean that she had earned their complete trust. As she walked down the hall, her phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Carter. "We need to talk. Meet me in my office." Anna felt a lump form in her throat. She hadn't expected this. She had just delivered a solid presentation and felt sure she had won the board over. What could Mr. Carter possibly want to discuss? Was there something more to the story? She took a deep breath, steeling herself as she made her way to his office. When she walked in, Mr. Carter was sitting at his desk, his back turned as he looked out of the large window behind him. The view of the city skyline, so familiar to Anna, now felt like a distant, unattainable dream. She knocked lightly on the doorframe, and he turned to greet her with a serious look. "Anna, come in. Sit down," he said, his voice calm, but laced with something Anna couldn't quite place. She sat across from him, her hands folding in her lap, waiting for him to speak. "I wanted to talk to you about something," he began. "Something that's been weighing on me." Anna could feel the tension in the room, and her heart rate picked up. "What is it?" she asked, her voice steady, though she felt the anxiety rising in her chest. Mr. Carter sighed and leaned forward in his chair. "I'm afraid I've made a mistake," he said quietly. "I've been so focused on the foundation's success, on pushing you to take charge, that I may have overlooked some important details." Anna blinked, her mind racing. "What do you mean?" she asked, trying to keep her voice even. Mr. Carter paused, looking at her with a somber expression. "I think I've put too much pressure on you too quickly. You're capable, Anna. I know you are. But the truth is, I've seen some of the same doubts in you that I used to have. You're still new to this role, and I may have pushed you into something too fast." The words hit Anna harder than she expected. For the past few months, she had been working nonstop, proving herself to be worthy of the responsibility that had been handed to her. To hear Mr. Carter, someone she respected deeply, question her readiness felt like a punch to the gut. She swallowed hard, trying to find the right words. "I know you care about the foundation, and I know you care about me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I'm doing my best. I want this. I want to make a difference." Mr. Carter's gaze softened. "I know you do, Anna, and I know you're doing everything you can. But sometimes, even the best intentions can lead to burnout. I've been there too." He paused, as if searching for the right words. "What I'm trying to say is, I don't want you to burn out. I want you to succeed, but I want you to succeed in a way that's sustainable. I don't want you to lose yourself in this role." Anna felt her chest tighten. She had been so focused on proving her worth, on making sure she didn't fail, that she hadn't even considered the toll it was taking on her. She had been pushing herself to the brink, afraid that if she didn't give everything she had, she would disappoint everyone, especially Mr. Carter. She realized then how much of her own well-being she had sacrificed in the name of success. "I don't want to disappoint you," she said, her voice thick, with emotion. "You've given me so much trust, and I don't want to let you down." Mr. Carter stood and walked over to her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You haven't let me down, Anna. You've done more than I could have ever hoped for. But this isn't just about the foundation. It's about you, too. You need to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup." The words echoed in Anna's mind. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to feel the weight of the exhaustion that had been building inside her. She had been running on adrenaline, trying to prove her worth, trying to be the perfect leader. But in the process, she had lost sight of the person she was. "What should I do?" she asked, her voice small. Mr. Carter smiled gently. "Take a step back. Take time for yourself. The foundation will still be here when you return. You don't need to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. I believe in you, Anna, but I also believe in your well-being." As Anna sat there, processing his words, a sense of relief washed over her. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she could breathe. It wasn't about proving herself anymore. It was about finding balance, about remembering why she started in the first place, to help others, and to take care of herself in the process. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but with Mr. Carter's support, Anna felt ready to face whatever came next. She smiled, her heart a little lighter. "Thank you," she said, her voice steady once again. Mr. Carter nodded. "You've earned it, Anna. Now, go take care of yourself. The foundation can wait." With that, Anna left his office, feeling like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. For the first time in months, she was ready to focus on herself, because, for the first time in months, she had realized that taking care of herself was just as important as taking care of the foundation. The following weeks brought a new sense of balance for Anna. After her conversation with Mr. Carter, she took the time to reevaluate her priorities. The first few days off felt strange, almost like she was missing something. But soon, she realized that it was not just about taking time off. It was about reconnecting with herself. She went for long walks in the park, spent afternoons at the local cafe with a book she had been meaning to read, and reconnected with her family. She realized just how much she had neglected her personal life, while focusing so heavily on the foundation. During this time, Anna also had the chance to reflect on the journey she had taken. When she first started as a nurse, she had never imagined that she would end up in a leadership role. She had been content with her position, helping patients one at a time, making a difference in the small ways that she could. But the world had pushed her towards something bigger, and she had taken the leap. Now, looking back, she realized that the foundation was more than just a job. It was a calling. When Anna returned to work after her break, it was with a renewed sense of purpose. She knew she didn't have to prove herself to anyone anymore. She wasn't here to meet anyone's expectations. She was here to make the world a better place, in her own way. Mr. Carter, sensing the change in her, smiled approvingly when he saw her again. "You seem different, Anna," he remarked. "I'm glad to see you taking care of yourself. You're going to be an even better leader because of it." Anna smiled, grateful for his support. She was ready to continue her work, but now, she knew the importance of balance. The foundation was still her priority, but she also had to remember to take care of her own well-being. As the months went by, Anna's leadership grew stronger. She made several important decisions that steered the foundation toward new initiatives, focusing on improving healthcare access for communities in need. Her strategic approach, combined with her newfound clarity, led to successful partnerships and funded projects that were making a tangible difference. Despite all her success, Anna never forgot the importance of kindness. She still visited the clinics she helped establish, met with patients, and listened to their stories. She made sure that the heart of the foundation, the people it was designed to serve, never got lost in the larger goals. One evening, Anna found herself in a meeting with a potential donor, a philanthropist who had shown interest in supporting one of their major initiatives. The meeting was going well, but Anna couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. As the donor spoke about his past contributions to similar causes, Anna listened, but her mind kept drifting. She realized that no matter how successful the foundation became, the core mission remained the same: to help people, to listen to them, and to be a force of change. She excused herself from the meeting, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. When she walked back into her office, Mr. Carter was there, waiting. "How did it go?" he asked, his eyes scanning her face for any sign of doubt. Anna smiled, her heart light. "It went great. I think we're on the right path." Mr. Carter nodded approvingly. "You've come a long way, Anna. I always knew you had it in you." Anna's heart swelled at his words. She had doubted herself for so long, wondering if she could really do this, wondering if she was the right person for the job. But now, standing in the midst of everything she had built, she realized that she was. She was ready. That night, after a long day of meetings, Anna went home, feeling the familiar weight of the work ahead. But this time, she felt different. The exhaustion was still there, but so was the sense of peace she had found in learning to balance her personal and professional life. As she sat on her balcony, watching the sunset, she felt a deep sense of contentment. She had found her purpose, and she had found her peace. And no matter what challenges lay ahead, she knew she was ready to face them, because she was doing it her way. Anna wasn't just a leader of a foundation anymore. She was someone who had learned the most important lesson of all: to take care of herself, so she could take care of others. It was the balance she had been searching for all along. As the year drew to a close, Anna found herself standing at the threshold of a new chapter. The foundation was flourishing, expanding its reach to communities that had long been overlooked. Anna had proven to herself, and to others, that she was more than capable of leading the organization with strength and compassion. She had created initiatives that were changing lives, and the ripple effects of her work were felt far and wide. But what Anna valued most was the balance she had found between her professional success and her personal happiness. For the first time in a long while, she felt at peace with herself. She had learned that leadership wasn't just about making decisions. It was about knowing when to step back, when to trust others, and when to take care of her own well-being. It wasn't about working herself to the point of exhaustion. It was about working smarter, with intention, and remembering the core reasons why she had started in the first place: to help people. One evening, as Anna sat at her desk reviewing reports, a message from Mr. Carter popped up on her phone. "Meet me at the gala tonight. I have something for you." Anna smiled to herself. The annual gala was a tradition for the foundation, a night to celebrate the year's successes and recognize the hard work of everyone involved. She had been busy preparing for it, but Mr. Carter's message intrigued her. What could he want to discuss this time? As she arrived at the venue, she was greeted by the usual sea of faces, donors, community leaders, and supporters of the foundation, all gathered to celebrate the work they had done over the past year. The room buzzed with excitement, and Anna felt a sense of gratitude wash over her as she took in the scene. She had worked alongside many of these people, and together, they had accomplished so much. When Mr. Carter saw her, he waved her over with a smile. "Anna," he said warmly, "I'm so glad you made it." She smiled back, feeling a sense of comfort in his presence. "It's always a pleasure to be here," she replied. "Thank you for everything, Mr. Carter." "It's not just me, Anna," he said, placing a hand on her shoulder. "It's you too. You've transformed this foundation, and you've done it with heart. But tonight, I wanted to show you something special." Mr. Carter led her to a quiet corner of the venue, away from the bustling crowd. He gestured to a table where a large plaque was displayed. Anna's eyes widened as she approached. The plaque was engraved with the name of the foundation, but there was something else written below it: the Anna Monroe Initiative for Community Healthcare. Anna stood in stunned silence, her breath catching in her throat. "I wanted to give you something that would symbolize your impact on this organization," Mr. Carter said softly. "This initiative is a permanent testament to the work you've done and the future you're shaping." Anna felt a lump form in her throat as she stared at the plaque. The realization hit her like a wave. She had spent so many years focused on giving, on helping others, that she hadn't fully grasped the magnitude of what she had accomplished. She had created something lasting, something that would continue to help people for years to come. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice filled with emotion. Mr. Carter smiled gently. "You don't need to say anything, Anna. This is all because of you. You've earned it." In that moment, Anna realized that the true reward wasn't the recognition or the accolades. It was the lives that had been touched, the communities that had been changed, and the people who now had access to the health care they desperately needed. As the evening continued, Anna stood in the background, watching the celebration unfold. The gala wasn't just a celebration of the foundation's success. It was a celebration of her journey, of the hard work and sacrifices she had made to get to this point. But it was also a reminder of the importance of balance. She had given so much of herself to this cause, but she had also learned to take care of herself. She had found a way to be a leader without losing sight of who she was. Later that night, as the gala came to an end, Anna stepped outside to get some fresh air. The cool evening breeze felt refreshing, and she gazed up at the stars, feeling a deep sense of peace. She had come so far, and the future seemed brighter than ever. The foundation was in good hands, and so was she. As she stood there, taking in the quiet of the night, Anna knew that this was only the beginning. She had a new vision for her life, one that would allow her to continue making a difference, while also embracing the joy and fulfillment that came with taking care of herself. She had learned the most important lesson of all, that true success is not just about the work you do. It's about the person you become along the way.